I used to think I had to do more, think more, fix more, visualize harder, align perfectly, as if the universe were some test I had to pass with perfect answers and high-vibration homework. I thought manifestation meant performance, a kind of metaphysical hustle. But the truth is, I was just making it harder than it needed to be. And so are you. Not because you're wrong, but because you were taught to earn what is already yours. You were taught that receiving requires effort, that becoming needs a battle, that if it doesn't feel hard, it must not be working. But reality, real creation, moves in silence, in softness, in spaces we barely notice because they don't shout, they whisper. You've been trying so hard to make it happen that you forgot how to let it happen. And that difference, though subtle, is everything. It's the difference between wrestling the ocean and becoming the current, between clenching your jaw and exhaling fully, between chasing and allowing. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. And what you are is not a checklist. The signal you send to life is not your words or your willpower. It's your regulation, your coherence, your embodied baseline. Your nervous system speaks louder than your affirmations. Your state of being is the vibration. And so the more you try to manipulate outcomes, the more you affirm that you don't already trust the signal you're sending. The more you chase, the more you anchor in lack. But here's the miracle. The moment you stop trying so hard, you start becoming available. The moment you stop gripping, the field opens. Because the quantum doesn't respond to effort. It responds to essence, to the felt, lived truth of who you believe you are. And if who you believe you are is someone who must prove, perfect, push, then that is the timeline you'll stay in. Not because you failed, but because you forgot to feel safe in your being. Everything you're calling in, love, peace, abundance, purpose, already exists. Not someday, now. But you can't meet it through force, only through frequency, only by becoming the version of you who doesn't need to try. The one who remembers. The flower blooms not by striving, but by surrendering to light. This is not passivity. This is power. The most magnetic beings are not the ones who do the most. They're the ones who radiate coherence. Who've regulated their inner world so deeply that the outer must rearrange to match. Who feel at home in their own skin. So life becomes an extension of that homecoming. So if you've been spinning, forcing, doubting, analyzing, pause. Right now, place your hand on your heart. Breathe. That's it. You're already in the field, already connected, already being. This is where reality bends, not through effort, but through essence. There's a moment just before you fall asleep, when your body softens, your mind lets go, your breath deepens. That in-between space, not quite awake, not quite gone, is where the quantum lives. It's where timelines shift without sound, where the future folds into now. And the more you learn to live from that space, that relaxed alertness, the more life begins to shape itself around your inner stillness. Most people miss this. They're too busy trying to earn the quantum, to dominate their thoughts, control their emotions, force their desires into some cosmic spreadsheet. But that's not how frequency works. That's not how the field listens. The field doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your electrical signal, your coherence, your congruence, your embodied truth. It responds to whether your body believes the story your mouth is telling, whether your heart is open enough to receive what your mind is visualizing, whether you've made peace with now, not as a strategy to get something later, but as a surrender into safety right here. You can't lie to the field. It knows when you're pretending. It knows when your nervous system is still in survival. It knows when you're asking for abundance but bracing for loss. That's why trying so hard never works. Because trying is a signal of separation. It's a frequency of lack. It says, I don't have this yet. I don't trust yet. I don't believe I already am it. And so the field reflects that signal, not to punish you, but to mirror you. Not to block you, but to awaken you. And when you stop trying, when you drop in, breathe deep, and anchor into presence, you collapse time. You create a felt alignment. And you become undeniable to the universe, not because of your effort, but because of your embodiment. That's when things start showing up fast, seemingly out of nowhere. Synchronicities, phone calls, opportunities. That feeling of, how did this happen so easily? It happened because you finally stopped arguing with what already wants to reach you. You finally remembered that the signal is not in your words, it's in your walk. The way you wake up in the morning and let your shoulders drop. The way you drink your coffee like you already live the life. The way you stop negotiating your worth with the world and start becoming a tuning fork for your truth. Trying keeps you in resistance. Being returns you to resonance. And resonance bends reality. Because it doesn't push, it pulses, it hums, it echoes into every corner of the field, saying, "This is who I am. This is what I'm ready for. This is the new truth I live from. Not because it's here, but because I am." You don't manifest from needing, you manifest from knowing. And knowing is a frequency, not a thought. It's the quiet confidence in your cells, the relaxation in your jaw, the trust that you're not late, not lacking, not broken, just remembering, just realigning, just returning to the version of you that was never separate to begin with. I remember a morning when nothing had changed externally, no big breakthrough, no external proof, and yet something in me had shifted. I stood in the shower and felt a deep, unexplainable calm, not because I had finally figured it out, but because I had finally stopped trying to figure it out. I let the water hit my back like a blessing. I exhaled, and in that moment, I knew. I was no longer chasing, I was becoming. That is the real turning point. Not when your desires arrive, but when your identity no longer needs to chase them. When your body stops bracing, when your energy starts softening. That's the moment the future collapses into now. Not with fireworks, but with the quiet confidence of coherence. You've been told to keep working on your mindset, your thoughts, your affirmations. But the truth is, thought alone doesn't shift timelines. The body does. The breath does. The vibration beneath the words, that's what the universe reads. And that vibration is set by the level of safety you feel in your system. No safety, no signal, no regulation, no reception. So the real question is not, how can I manifest faster? The question is, how can I feel safe being who I already am? How can I live from the frequency of already whole, already chosen, already aligned? Because when you feel safe in your now, the future arrives without resistance. It comes not because you forced it, but because you matched it. Imagine for a moment that your desires are not outside you. They are orbiting you, waiting for the right resonance. And the moment your frequency becomes a match, they land. Not because you did more, but because you remembered more. More truth, more trust. More of the version of you who doesn't perform to receive, who doesn't delay love until she's perfect, who doesn't withhold joy until it's justified. That version of you is the real magnet. Not the one who tries to get it right, but the one who is willing to get real, with her nervous system, with her energy, with her inner safety. Because when your inner world is coherent, your outer world becomes obedient. Reality bends not to your force, but to your frequency. This is why surrender is not weakness, it's quantum command. When you release control, you release static. When you stop micromanaging the how, you amplify the now. And the now is the only portal. It's not later, it's not after, it's here, in the breath, in the pause, in the way you choose to feel before the evidence. That's the frequency that shapes the field. So today, instead of asking, what else should I do? Ask, what energy do I need to be in? What embodiment would make this inevitable? And then feel it, live it, be it, not to prove something, but to remember everything. You don't need to do more. You need to be more of what you already are. A signal, a portal, a match. Stop trying. Start being. There's a myth we carry, that doing is safer than being. That action protects us from the ache of uncertainty. That if we can just keep moving, keep fixing, keep pushing forward, we won't have to sit in the discomfort of the unknown. But the truth is, being is where the quantum rearranges. Stillness is not stagnation. It's signal. And when your stillness is coherent, it becomes a command. That's why so many people spin in frustration. They take all the right steps, follow all the rituals, say all the right words, but their energy is frantic. Their body is tense. Their heart is closed. They're trying to be magnetic while feeling unsafe, trying to manifest miracles while bracing for disappointment. And the field listens, not to their lips, but to their nervous system, to their readiness. Readiness is not a strategy, it's a state, and you can't fake it. You either feel safe in your becoming, or you don't. You either walk like it's done, or you're still convincing yourself. And when you're convincing, you're contradicting. You're saying, I want this, but I don't yet believe I can have it. I visualize it, but I still fear it's not real. And that incoherence sends mixed signals. It delays the arrival. Not because you're broken, but because the field responds to clarity, to congruence. So what if the work isn't about trying harder? What if the real work is softening deeper? What if it's about regulating until receiving feels safe, until peace feels familiar, until love doesn't feel like a threat, but like a homecoming? That's when your frequency gets clean. That's when your energy becomes inviting, not desperate, not performative, just clear. The truth is, nothing changes outside until you shift inside. And that shift is never about more effort. It's about less resistance, less pretending, less waiting for life to prove something to you before you decide to feel it. When you stop waiting, the field stops withholding, because it never was withholding. It was mirroring your belief in delay. I've seen people try to manifest love while abandoning themselves, money while resenting their worth, success while fearing their visibility, and all of it just reinforces the signal of not yet, because the quantum doesn't give you what you beg for. It gives you what your baseline allows, what your embodiment transmits. So how do you shift the baseline? Not by force, but by presence, by becoming the version of you who no longer negotiates with the field, who no longer pleads, who simply shows up in her knowing, her breath, her grounded frequency. That's the portal. That's the vibration where life begins to meet you halfway. And you don't need to know how. You don't need to know when. You just need to keep softening into the version of you who knows it's already hers. You don't have to hold it all together. You just have to hold yourself, gently, fully, without apology. That's the beginning of quantum flow. Not more doing, more remembering. The universe doesn't speak in timelines. It speaks in tones. And the tone you hold, in your chest, your breath, your subtle self, is what orchestrates the movements of matter. It's not about convincing the world of your worth. It's about becoming a frequency so undeniable, the world must reflect it. But this is where most people get lost. They try to manipulate the mirror. They stand in front of reality, pleading for reflection to change, while their own energy stays stuck in doubt, in fear, in delay. They say, once I see it, I'll believe it. But the field says, once you believe it, you'll see it. The reflection doesn't move until you do. And movement doesn't mean doing more. It means becoming different. Not performing a new story, but embodying a new truth. Walking it, feeling it, letting it land in your nervous system so fully that your frequency shifts without effort. Like how a tuning fork doesn't try to vibrate. It just does. It resonates because it's built to. And you are built to. You are not meant to strive forever. You are designed to remember, to attune, to return to the clarity of your own signal. But you can't access that clarity if you're still arguing with the now, still waiting for life to give you permission to feel whole, still outsourcing your sense of arrival to some future event. The irony is, the moment you stop waiting for it, it starts waiting for you. The moment you stop chasing, you become chase-worthy, because your energy becomes stable, clean, undeniable. You're no longer leaking your signal into fantasy or fear. You're living it here. You're no longer fragmented between desire and disbelief. You've chosen to believe, not because of proof, but because it's safer to believe than to stay in delay. This is what alignment really means. Not perfect thoughts or constant positivity, but nervous system safety, embodied truth, emotional coherence. It means your inner world isn't at war with your outer vision. It means you've regulated the parts of you that used to panic and now they trust. They soften. They allow. And when your system allows, your timeline accelerates. Not because the field is suddenly more generous, but because you've become more available. Available to receive. Available to let it be easy. Available to let it come fast. To let it land without guilt or resistance. To let your new reality feel safe before it even arrives. That's how miracles happen, not through begging or bargaining, but through frequency match, through embodied surrender. Through the quiet, regulated rhythm of someone who no longer needs to convince the universe because she already knows. She knows who she is, what she holds, what she's ready for. So if you feel like you've been trying too hard, you have. And it's okay. It's safe to stop, to drop the effort, to become the invitation instead of the initiator, the magnet instead of the manager, the embodiment instead of the executor. Because the field doesn't respond to how hard you work. It responds to how clearly you are. There's a hum beneath the surface of all things, a subtle frequency, like the quiet breath of reality itself. You can't hear it with your ears, but you feel it in those moments when time slows down, when a coincidence feels too perfect to be random, when someone texts you just as you think of them. That hum is coherence, the field responding, the signal returning home. And the more you attune to it, the less effort you need. Because now you're not pushing the river, you're flowing with it. You're not commanding the universe, you're dancing with it. You've remembered what we all forget. Reality is not fixed. It's fluid, responsive, shaped not by your force, but by your frequency. But this is where we trip. We think alignment means feeling good all the time, that we must become robotic in our positivity, flawless in our emotional state. But that's not coherence. That's suppression. Real coherence includes your humanness. It welcomes your full range. It says, you can feel grief and still be magnetic. You can have doubt and still collapse timelines. You can be messy and still be miraculous. Because embodiment isn't about perfection. It's about permission. The more you allow yourself to feel fully, the more your system regulates. And a regulated system is a receptive system. One that doesn't confuse discomfort with danger. One that doesn't shut down just because life hasn't shown proof yet. One that can hold the frequency of, I know it's coming, even when the evidence says otherwise. And that holding, that is mastery. Not forcing a frequency, but becoming stable in it. Not clinging to a thought, but letting your body become the broadcast. Letting your posture say what your mouth no longer needs to. Letting your presence become the portal. That's when life bends. Because now you're not just thinking a new reality, you're living it, breathing it, embodying the timeline that already exists. That's how timelines collapse. Not with fireworks, but with familiarity. The version of you who already has it. She's not amazed when it arrives. She's regulated, calm, grateful, yes, but not shocked, because her frequency already knew. Her body was already living in that version of reality before it appeared. So if you want to become her, you don't need to force a thing. You just need to create emotional safety in the now, so that your body stops clinging to the old timeline, so that your breath becomes a vote for the new one, so that you no longer react to the absence, because you've already anchored the presence. This is the real secret. The field doesn't move when you hope harder. It moves when you feel safer, because safety is signal. Safety is coherence. Safety is the frequency of receiving. And you get to choose that safety, right here, right now, not later, when the money lands or the love appears, but now, in the breath, in the body, in the way you decide that waiting is over, trying is over, becoming has already begun. There's a sacred shift that happens when you stop asking the universe to notice you and start noticing yourself, when you stop pleading with life to give you signs and instead become the sign, when you stop reaching and start radiating. Because energy never lies, and the universe always responds to the most honest signal. That signal isn't loud. It doesn't beg. It doesn't push or prove. It's quiet, but certain, relaxed, but anchored. It's the energy of someone who no longer negotiates with doubt, someone who no longer confuses effort with power, someone who no longer waits for the world to confirm what she already knows in her bones. This is the truth they never taught you. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you're willing to embody. You don't receive from striving. You receive from remembering, from letting your inner state become the frequency of the life you've already claimed. And claiming doesn't happen in your mind. It happens in your body, in your breath, in your everyday rhythm, in the way you brush your hair, cook your food, open your email, not from lack, but from fullness, from already having, from already being. Because being isn't passive, it's magnetic. And the most magnetic people aren't the ones who try to be seen. They're the ones who've seen themselves so deeply, the world has no choice but to echo it back. So if you've been waiting for life to give you permission, stop. If you've been trying to earn what's already meant for you, breathe. If you've been efforting your way into alignment, soften. Not with apathy, with awareness. Not with laziness, with precision. The kind of precision that comes from presence, from choosing, moment by moment, to align with the version of you who's already living the timeline you desire. Not imagining it someday, but becoming it now, embodying it now, walking it, wearing it, anchoring it so deeply that it becomes more real than your doubt ever was. That's when things shift. That's when people say, it happened so fast, but it didn't happen fast. It happened the moment you stopped resisting your own readiness. The moment you dropped the mask. The moment you trusted the timeline that lives inside your coherence, not your calendar. You don't have to be perfect to be magnetic. You don't have to have it all figured out to be aligned. You just have to be real, with yourself, with the field, with the truth that your energy carries more weight than your words ever could. And when your energy is clean, not desperate, not chaotic, just clear, the quantum listens. The quantum moves. Not because you demanded it, but because you became it. So let this be your new practice, not forcing reality to catch up, but living like it already has. Not chasing the dream, but choosing the frequency, again and again, until that choice becomes your signature, until your signal becomes undeniable, until being is no longer a strategy, it's your state. There's a softness that comes when you finally stop striving, a quiet certainty that takes the place of the endless effort. And in that softness, that sacred surrender, you begin to feel the rhythm of a different reality humming through your chest. One that was always there, just waiting for you to match it. You realize the doors were never locked, only your nervous system was. That the timeline wasn't far away, only your energy was scattered. That the life you've been chasing was simply asking you to slow down enough to catch it. And so you do. You pause. You breathe. You stop arguing with the now. You stop treating the future like a prize to win and start treating the present like a portal to enter. You stop trying to escape the moment and start infusing it with the vibration of the life you've already claimed. That's how you become a living transmission. That's how you collapse timelines. Not through effort, but through essence. Not by making it happen, but by making it real inside you. And the more real it becomes within, the more inevitable it becomes without. Because the field doesn't wait for your perfection. It responds to your alignment. And alignment is not a destination. It's a remembering, a returning, a choice to come home to yourself again and again, especially when your mind tries to pull you back into fear, into force, into proving. You choose instead to soften, to anchor, to trust, to let your body become the broadcast of a reality already chosen, already received, already alive within the frequency of your being. This is the quantum code. What you embody, you energize. What you energize, you emit. What you emit, you attract. So the question is never, how do I get what I want? The question is, who am I being with every breath, every step, every moment I wake up and choose to tune myself like an instrument, not for performance, but for resonance? You're not here to get it all perfect. You're here to remember your power, to return to the frequency of enoughness, of clarity, of quiet command. And from there, from that coherence, the field organizes around you. Reality reshapes itself to fit your vibration. Life meets you where you are, not where you wish you were. So stop trying. Start being. Let the old frequency fall away. Let the effort dissolve. Let your system settle into the truth that it was never meant to be hard. It was only ever meant to be real, because you don't manifest by controlling reality. You manifest by becoming a clear enough signal that reality has no choice but to respond, not with resistance, but with recognition. Welcome home to your frequency. It's safe to be here. It's safe to be seen. It's safe to receive.